Kellie Harper. She'll be happy to take your questions regarding Tennessee's games this week against Ole Miss and Florida. Questions for Coach Harper, please. Maria?
Coach, obviously up next is Ole Miss. They have a new starter at point guard. I think she just put up 18 points. Obviously, you think about Shakira Austin. Just what is challenges does Ole Miss present, and also how do you keep your team from looking at their record and focusing on the scout?
Well, I think one of the things that we've been able to do is throughout the season is focus in on us, really try to get better as a team. In addition, we really try to keep our scouting reports very consistent. So our routine doesn't look different when we're playing UConn and when we're playing Ole Miss. I think that helps the mindset of our players so they understand that all games are equally important. In terms of Ole Miss and what they do well, first off, they play really hard. I mean, they play really hard. They have a lot of really unique and really good schemes offensively, a lot of them. And I think, again, they've got a couple dynamic guards that are really doing a good job scoring. And then Shakira Austin she is just a talented player, poses some problems in her position. So, I think, again, as I've said before, if you think you just walk out and win, you don't. That's not how this works. It's important that our players go out and understand that we need to play well.
Howard?
Coach, thank you for the time. When you look numerically at what you guys are year over year, there's been significant jumps, whether it's your defensive efficiency, your offensive efficiency, any number of areas. I'm wondering what, if anything, you see as the biggest jump that you're happiest with in terms of this season so far.
For me, I think it's probably the defensive end, the numbers there. We've been more consistent. We've been more consistent with our rebounding numbers. We've trended up offensively. So those are all really good stats. So in terms of a numeric, finding one of those numbers that I'm most proud of, or most happy with, I think is really hard because I think they've all meant a lot. Probably the thing I'm most proud of is not the numbers. It's actually our mindset, and it's our attitude, and it's our growth of understanding what needs to happen, and a little bit more maturity in understanding how we need to play and what it needs to look like for us to be a good basketball team, and our ability to bounce back after losses. So to me, we've grown in so many areas, but sometimes the one that you can't quantify has been the one that's been the most important.
Could I just follow up briefly on that? Because, again, when we think about this program, big picture, we think about it relative to Pat, relative to the legacy and tradition. It strikes me that comparing apples to apples in terms of where you are nationally is much harder to do during a time where there are significantly more programs that are investing in women's basketball. And so I guess I wonder, when you think about just sort of writ large where you want this program to be, is it more about a mentality than it is about this number of wins or that number of championships?
Right now, we have to have the growth in the locker room, on the court, in practices. We have to have that, because if we don't have that, the numbers won't matter in a year from now or in 2 years from now. You can't just look at numbers at this point, and obviously at some point we'll be where we want to be with everything else, and it's got to line up. But if we do all these other things, then we're going to be where we need to be. I really do believe that. I think right now our team is so confident about what we're doing and what we can do that we feel like we can beat anybody. And I think that's a good place to be in mentally with a basketball team.
Thanks, Coach.
Lewis?
Kellie, kind of sticking with the big picture type questions here. with the wins against ranked teams that you all have had this year, with the past week and the success that you saw, nearly beating UConn, dominating Kentucky, do you feel like this team and this program is starting to turn into the vision that you had in mind when you accepted this job? Are you starting to see kind of a corner being turned?
Yeah, I think we've been able to see it prior to the wins, and now I think everybody else gets to see it. We've been watching this happen, and sometimes growth is so small, and it, like I said earlier, it doesn't come up in numbers, and sometimes might not even come out with a win, but we're seeing that growth. We've been seeing that, and so now I'm so happy for our team more than anything. I'm so happy for our team because they've listened, they've bought in, and they've really tried, and they've been rewarded with some really good wins. And that's so fun to see. It's very rewarding as a coach to see your team's success when they buy in like they've done. So are we there yet? No, we have not. We have not gotten exactly where we want to go. There's a lot of basketball left. I mean, a lot of basketball left to play. There's still room for growth. There's rooms for ups and downs the rest of the way. But in terms of where we are from the start of the season to where we are now, I'm so proud of them, and I'm so happy for them.
Donnie?
Coach, congratulations on moving up in the polls this week. Defensively, what are some of your goals for your upcoming game, and is there a certain matchup that you're curious to see how it plays out?
Well, once we get a little bit closer to discussing Ole Miss with our team, we'll talk about maybe some specific goals, but I think our team understands, kind of trajectory and how we need to look. That's almost as important. In terms of some matchups, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Austin, and it'll be we'll have some tough matchups with some of their guards. I think some of their guards are, they play hard, they play downhill, and are really aggressive. So we've got to make sure that we're really sharp and focused and locked in defensively so we can guard them.
Jimmy?
Kelly, earlier you were talking about not mentioning numbers, but there is a number I got to ask you about. Rennia Davis, 20 rebounds. Just talk about the type of effort it makes to get that many rebounds.
She was dialed in, found out after the game she had a buddy of hers challenge her that she couldn't get 15 rebounds. So she was pretty locked in. And when she does that, when she has specific goals and she kind of gets locked into one thing, she's pretty darn good. She has a really good ability to go get the ball. And with her athleticism and her size, she has an advantage on the boards. And then I think the more mobile she is, the more we move her around offensively, the harder it is for defenses to keep her off the board. So, I think it was just a real good combination. She was dialed in. She was going to go get those boards. And I'll be honest with you, the team knew it. The team knew how many they were tracking it. It was pretty cool. They were really excited for her.
So was that friend challenge Rennia Davis to get 15 rebounds against Ole Miss?
I think I'm gonna make sure Rennia knows. I think what the friend was saying was, I don't think you can get 15 rebounds every game here on the way out. That's what I think the friend was saying. So I'm gonna let her know that was my interpretation of that comment or that question.
One other thing too, you mentioned that you know what it looks like for you to be a good basketball team. What does that look like?
So for us, one, we'll start with something very basic, and that's getting a shot up. So that means taking care of the basketball, getting a shot up. Offensively, when we're clicking, we are getting the ball inside to our post players, and we're getting paint touches as well. We're not settling. And I think defensively, when we're at our best, we're just really locked in. Everyone is alert. I think sometimes it's easier to be alert on the ball. It's easier to relax off the ball. But when we're at our best, everybody is really tuned in to the offense and to what the offense is trying to do. So, and then for us, just cleaning up the boards on both ends.
Jordan?
Kind of going off what Jimmy said, on Sunday, Tamara Key said that they take a lot of pride in the fact that opponents' best players don't have their best games against Tennessee. I don't know that the same can be said about Rennia Davis, despite her likely kind of being atop every opponent's scouting report with bullets and bold font. What is it about the way that she plays that allows her to still have success despite, really being, like I said, kind of that big key for Tennessee?
Well, I think she's so versatile and she can do so many things. And some of the things that she does well are just really hard to guard. She makes a lot of plays off the ball, and a lot of that is her savvy. And when you have to account for Ray Burrell and Jordan Horson and Tamari Key, and you're guarding so many people on the court, Rennia, who's away from the basketball, can get missed at times. And I think that's when she really plays well. She can get out in transition and score. She's doing a good job right now taking care of the basketball. She's very careful with it. She can pass to the post. She can do so many things that I think she really understands now. She doesn't have to be knocking down shots for her to have a really good game. And that has just it's taken her game to another level. I think she's better. Her average, I don't think it's as much as it was last year, but I think she's better. And I think she can play through, poor shooting night and still have success. And I'm so proud of her for that.
Follow up to that, you kind of alluded to it at the end there, but there's been several games this season where she's come out pretty cold in the first quarter. And then you look at the box score at the end of the game and she has 10 points or a double-double or ends the night in double figures. Is that just her basketball IQ allowing her to make those adjustments? You kind of mentioned a little earlier some of the offensive adjustments that you make as a coaching staff. What can you kind of attribute to what she's able to do after maybe not starting off the best?
Well, I think now she is at a really good place that she knows she can make other plays. And when Rennia is making other plays, so for instance, grabbing an offensive board or two, then a lot of times that's leading to her getting to the free throw line. It's leading to her getting a putback. That can really spark her. That can really get her going. And I'm excited about that because I think she understands she can affect the game in so many different ways.
Gustavo?
Coach, how do you see the development of the newcomers, in regarding this moment of the season? Like one example, I think Marta Suarez, I think she's playing really aggressive. How do you see the newcomers adapting this season?
Well, I think they have really settled in now. I think they're feeling pretty good about what they need to do. Marta in particular, I think she's letting the game come to her a little bit better now, and her plus minus the last two games I think has been the highest on the team. So she's making a lot of plays. I think having her out there helps our spacing at times. Destiny Salary, I think, has come in and made some really good plays for us. I was really excited about her play in the UConn game, and I'm really proud of her. She plays hard. Her defense, we felt like she could be a really good defensive player in this league, and we've seen a lot of growth there defensively already. So we're really excited about her future. Tess Darby, with some early injuries, just didn't get the playing time early that she probably needed to be a little bit further along right now, but I tell you, she's practicing terrific. And that sometimes you just talk to the players that don't get a lot of minutes at any point may call your name. You've got to be ready to go. And I think she understands that, and really excited about how she's progressing in practice. It's not leading to minutes now, but you never know what's going to happen down the road. And it's been good for her.
Maria?
Coach, since you majored in math at Tennessee, the net ranking may be the one you're paying more attention to than, say, AP or coaches poll. You moved up to 13 today. How are you keeping an eye on that net ranking, or you've just got too many other things to pay attention to right now?
Both, actually. I've got people reminding me where we are. I am trying to pay attention to it. It's not end all be all for me right now with what, planning practices and getting scouting reports ready. But I think just kind of tracking it and understanding how we're playing is we're seeing those numbers change, because I think as we move forward with the net, understanding how to move the net is important prior to a season. And, because if that's what we're going to be utilizing, we need to know how it works.
And a quick follow-up, since this is our chance to talk to you about Florida too. Obviously, you say Florida, you think of Lavender Briggs. They come in here. How important is it for these two next home games you've got to sort of, hold serve on home court, because you got quite of a road stretch coming up?
February, my bags will stay packed in February, I think. I think these games are really important. I think it's an opportunity for us to show some maturity and, to come out and play and get better and enjoy being at home. You don't get these stretches that often that you're at home 4 in a row. So hopefully our team will be locked in. I think we have to be to get wins. I really do. I think the SEC is so competitive this year. It really is. You look at the scores every single night and man, it's just competitive. And if you take a night off, you're not going to be in the win column. So I think that's going to be the message to the team, and, take advantage of the opportunity that we have being at home two more days.
Howard.
Thanks, Coach. Just to sort of circle back to what we were talking about, to have back-to-back performances. I know you didn't get the win in UConn, but the defensive performance was, among the best we've seen from this team, from this program for the past few years. And to follow that up by doing things like, holding Ryan Howard to 3 for 14 from the field, I wonder, it's not Final Four winning championships laid out the way you talked about when you took this job, but that's an impossible thing to do in a week in January. Did it feel like this week in January was, let's say, the closest you've gotten so far to where you're looking to take this program?
So I might be wrong on this, but I feel like our 3 best games that we have played all year were Alabama, UConn, and Kentucky, our last 3 games. And that's exciting for me that we're trending there now. And I think a lot of that had to do with the defensive effort in those games. And a lot of that had to do with our focus and our mentality. Our offensive execution and whatnot was pretty good the majority of those games. And we're not perfect, but I do think, just trying to really think back, I do feel like we're trending up in the last 3 games, to be honest with you. So it's important that we don't just, kick our feet up and say, yay, good job. We had 3 good games. No, that's not what this is about. And I do think the teams that, are the top 5 or the top 10, they deal with this. They deal with this every night. People are gunning for you because you are a top 5 team and whatnot. And I think we get that a little bit because we wear orange, but I also think we're getting it now because of how we played. I think, people are looking at us and this team's playing well. We got to really get up for them. So I think it's a little bit different for our team than it has been the last couple of years. And, I think it'll be a great opportunity for us.
And just, I have one more if I could. Doing a piece on the best teams that have ever been. And obviously 98 is among the list.
Very good choice.
I'm hoping you could tell me why it should be 98 as opposed to, say, 1980 Old Dominion, 2016 UConn. What's the case for you guys from 98?
I mean, that point guard was pretty solid. I don't know. No, let me say, I think the thing about our team in 98 to me that was so good, first, if we had a chance to beat you by 20 points, we were going to beat you by 30. We had the ability to really kick you when you were down. And we were really explosive. We could take a 6-point lead in 1 minute, be up 15. We were really explosive. And I thought we were really complete, that we could do you could really shut people down with your defense. And I mean, really terrorize people. You know, we had some great defensive players, not including me. I was not one of those. I was one, you know, stay out of the way of the really good ones. And then offensively, we just had so many different people that could score. It was just next to impossible to guard. And, you know, I felt like we played hard. We got energy from making plays off each other. And I don't know, we were just so explosive. That's, to me, why we were different than so many other teams.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take 3 final questions. It'll be Lewis, Jimmy, and then Jordan.
Kelly, a bit off topic here, but a year ago, Kobe, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others died in a helicopter crash. And you all were one of the few groups of people that were actually playing a basketball game when it was happening. I think the news actually came down in the third quarter of that game. Do you remember speaking to the team at all about like giving them a message of some kind, or just reflect on that day at all since then?
We haven't talked a lot about it since, but that we were actually, some of us were just talking about it a few minutes ago, how that went down and how hard it was on our team to hear that. We had just won a big game. We had just beaten LSU on our court, and we were so excited. The girls were so excited coming into the locker room, and we literally could not enjoy the win. We could not. It was very difficult to hear that news, and just didn't seem real. You know, it really still doesn't seem real. And, you know, I think unfortunately, it's still just a reminder of our time is short, and, you know, there are no guarantees. And it's not about basketball, but it's about living your life every day, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. You have no idea. And, you know, I think it was just unfortunate. You don't want those reminders, but that's what we tried to look at it as, is just a reminder of go out and be the best you can be, and live your day, live it, and enjoy life, because it's just too short.
Thank you.
Jimmy?
Kelly, when I look at your rebound margin, it's somewhere around plus 15 or 16. I know rebounding is more than just being taller than the other team. What do you think has been the key to your rebounding efficiency?
Well, we finally have some habits, and some positive habits. Shot goes up, we actually look to box people out. Now, we're not great at it 100% of the time, but we are so much better. We keep people off the boards better than we have in the past. And then offensively, I feel like we have really bought into that being important. And our team understands that's where we can really separate ourselves.
Also, there's so many teams out there that are really good, but have difficulty being consistent. What do you think are the keys to a team being consistently good night in and night out?
I think it's hard. I think it's really hard to be consistent, because it is a long basketball season. It's long. I think you have to have a mentality to be consistent. You have to know what I think you have to know your identity. You have to know what's important for your team. It's one of those things that you have to be good and then worry about the other team. You have to be good first at what you do, and then figure out how you're going to guard, or figure out how you're going to score against the other team specifically. Also, I think a lot of that has to do with practice. I think you have to continue to practice well throughout this time. You just can't have bad practices and then show up for games and be good. That typically doesn't happen. I've been so happy and so pleased with our practices this year. We have had so many good ones. Very few times that we walk out of the gym and go, I don't think we got better today. And I think that's a big contributor in our consistency as of late. And then also, I think just it's up to our staff to kind of have the pulse of the team and know where we're at mentally, know where we're at physically, and try to help adjust to put them in the best positions every single game. If that means we need to go light one day, if that means we need to go heavy one day, we've got to know that. We need more film work. We need more shots. We need more work on ball screens. We've got to be able to have that finger on the pulse of the team. I think that's important as well.
We'll close it out with the final question from Jordan.
Kelly, kind of piggybacking off of that, you talked about on Sunday how after a game, you have to approach things different way depending on the pulse of the team. I guess at what point in your head coaching career did you start to kind of figure out what the team needed after games and in between so that this team could kind of best perform in the following game?
Well, I think that's been a really, it's been a unique challenge. I think every team is different. I felt like early on in my career, I had it pretty good. And I think it wasn't so far removed. I was pretty young. I was 26-year-old head coach. So I felt like I knew what the team needed. And then as I got older and a little bit more removed from their age, I've had to lean on my assistants. I've had to learn. I've had to ask more questions and, really spend more time with, do different things to be able to know what the team needs. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But I think that's an important piece of what we do as coaches.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.